Hi everyone, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony, and you're watching the Fleece and Harmony Knitting and Crochet podcast recorded in our yarn shop, in our woolen mill, on our sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. If you're watching this on the day it's published, it's October 16th, 2022, and this is episode 106. I want to welcome everybody. It's been a while. It's been a month since the last podcast, and that is because we had a little visitor here at the end of September. If people are not aware, Prince Edward Island was hit by Hurricane Fiona, which technically was a tropical storm by the time it hit PEI, but with hurricane force winds. So we are going to have a regular episode today. I will do the farm update, but to be honest, the farm update is going to catch you all up on what happened with Fiona to us and our neighbors. I have an FO, and I think you can guess what it is. I'm wearing it. And I have two works in progress that we'll show. We're going to catch up with Betsy because she also got quite a lot of knitting done over the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what she's up to, and we'll update our wallflower progress that we both have. I will do a shop update, and then we'll just talk a little bit about the Arne Carlos event that's coming up at the end of November, and we'll have the harmony part. In this episode, I'm not going to do my list of 5 because, to be honest, I just didn't have time to do the research that I usually do for that. So we'll do that the next time. We'll be back on track with that. But most of the regular segments are going to be in this episode. We'll get started with the farm update because everybody, I've gotten so many emails and messages. I want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. It's really overwhelming. All of the messages that we had with your prayers and your thoughts for us. So I want to start by saying we are all completely safe. It was pretty scary, I have to say. So Fiona was more than what everybody expected, and we were expecting something that was going to be pretty powerful. But when it actually arrived, it was really the awesome power of nature was on full display. Of course, most of you know that we had to cancel the Fibre Festival, and we were hoping up until the Wednesday before the Fibre Festival that we would be able to still have it. The truth is that the storm was supposed to hit after everybody would have been here, and they were still debating whether it was going to make land on our side, and we were watching literally every hour. We were watching the forecast to see which direction Fiona was going in, and by Thursday morning, early, literally, I think Linda, who's the coordinator of the Fibre Festival, and I were chatting online early in the morning, like maybe 5:30 a.m. And at that point, it was clear that we were probably going to get the full brunt of the storm. So as I said, technically it was a tropical storm by the time it hit Prince Edward Island, but it still carried with it hurricane force winds. So there's technicalities about what makes a hurricane and what makes a tropical storm, but that's not important. So what happened was when the hurricane started to make landfall, it was in the middle of the night on Friday evening, and Ken and I were prepared in the house. A lot of you know that I've been calling our house the wood tent because we've been demoing for a renovation on one side of the house while we're living on the other side of the house, and a lot of you were worried about, because we had been doing a lot of demolition work inside, removing all of the old plaster and everything, if our house was still structurally sound. And we're happy to report that the old girl stood up to the wind. I'm not going to lie, there was definitely some moving of the shifting in the wind. We could feel it. It was making the house shudder. especially on the top floors. So it's actually a 3-story house. It's a full attic on top, and the main bedroom is on the 2nd floor. We moved down from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor and slept in the living room sometime during the night because we could actually feel the house swaying. We weren't sure what was going to happen when morning hit, when we could see what was going on outside. A lot of people were asking about the linden tree in the front. We have a huge linden tree in the front of our house, quite close to it. And it was really swaying in the wind as well. The power went out about sometime in the early morning hours, like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. So we were in complete darkness. And we were waking up, if we actually slept. I'm not sure that we really actually even slept, but we were up walking around. We took turns walking around the house every hour, basically until morning light, just to see that everything was okay. We could tell one of the windows in the attic actually blew into the attic, but wasn't damaged. And we could tell because you could feel, I guess it would be like the air pressure in the house changed, and we could feel that on the 3rd floor that something had happened upstairs. So we were, like I said, doing checks during the night. By the time morning came, it was still really, really windy. It went on well into Saturday. The wind didn't die down until quite late on Saturday evening. And we have generators, so we have two generators. We don't have the big, huge generators that are wired into your house like some people have, but we have enough generating power to keep our water going because we're on a well, so we have to have a pump running, and it's certainly for the animals. And so in the morning, we started the generators. Ken had them all prepared to go. We did a check around the farm just to make sure that the animals were all okay, which they were. But we had a small crack in one of the windows that we're replacing, and it actually cracked more, and we were afraid that it was going to blow in. So we actually had to go outside and board up that window. And I can tell you, while we were outside, it was hard to stand still. The wind was blowing so hard that it was moving you. Like, so if you took a step, because then you only had 1 foot on the ground, you could feel that you could easily be pushed over. That's how strong the wind was. So in the end, after the wind had died down enough, at some point in the early evening, while it was still light, we were able to get around and look around. There were a lot of large limbs blown off the linden tree. But luckily, they all blew away from the house, so they didn't touch any of the buildings. We could see that we were lost some of our apple trees, the old apple trees. There's apple trees around the house that were probably planted pretty soon after the house was built, so they're 100 years old or more, I think. And we could see that they sustained a lot of damage. We quickly did a check of the barns and the animals, like I said, and everybody was fine, and nobody was in danger at that point. So we knew we made it through the worst of it without any damage, but we really couldn't tell for sure. Like, it wasn't a thorough check. We just wanted to check the main things just to make sure everything was okay. During that afternoon, in the last episode, I talked about the fact that we had a pair of pileated woodpeckers living on our property. In the afternoon, while it was still windy, but kind of died down a little bit, we noticed one of the woodpeckers was down low on the tree, the linden tree. So I think that they might have actually been nesting in the linden tree, and when one of the big branches came off, I think that he somehow got caught up in the storm, and he didn't look like he was in very good shape. I posted a picture of it on my Instagram, and but after I posted that picture, we could tell that he was actually struggling. So it wasn't just that he was taking shelter at the bottom of the tree, that he was actually struggling. So I went out with a towel and I gathered him up on the towel, and he let me pick him up. So that was actually not a good sign. And I brought them in and we warmed them up. We have a wood stove. We had rehooked our wood stove up in the kitchen, so we had that for heat, or the contractors had done it, so we didn't do it ourselves. And I warmed up the woodpecker next to the wood stove, but he didn't make it. So he was a victim of Fiona, which was pretty heartbreaking because we'd just been so happy that we had them on the farm. So I guess technically we didn't have any farm of our animals that were hurt, but the little woodpecker didn't make it, which was really, really sad. I don't know when we actually got out to really take a look around. I think it was early Sunday morning. Sunday was beautiful, so we got on the ATV and we did a thorough check of the farm. And literally the only damage that we had was a little bit of the fascia on the top roof of the house had blown off, so easily repaired. The window that had blown in the attic, we were able to put back in when it happened, so there was no permanent damage there. There was a few things blown around, things that were on the deck that we didn't think were going to be affected by the wind that got blown around the yard and everything, but nothing really was broken or damaged, except for the umbrella on our picnic table. We had an umbrella that was inserted in the middle of our picnic table, and that broke, so that was garbage. There was no damage that we could see to any of the barns. And we even have this kind of old rickety shed that we thought for sure would have been blown down, but there was no damage whatsoever. And we lost literally 2 shingles off the garage. So we were really, really lucky. We went around a little bit and looked around the farm. The fences were all damaged because trees did fall down from the hedgerow onto the fences, so they were all damaged, but the trees fell in such a way that miraculously I think we lost 1 fence post. Every other tree fell down in the middle between 2 fence posts, so the wiring actually came down, but the tree was big enough that it filled the hole between the 2 posts, so there was no danger ever that the animals were going to get it out, so that was pretty lucky. Then we went to the woodlot. So the news was not good in our woodlot. So I don't know how much I've talked about this before, but we've taken you around the trail in the woodlot during the Harmony moment at some points. And we went with the ATV to see the trail, and we could go in, I don't know, maybe 200 feet or 200 meters maybe. We were able to go into the trail, and then we started to see the damage. It was like matchsticks up there. And we have like 1.4 kilometers of trails up there, so we couldn't go any further than that. We came out from the way we went in, and then we went in the other end and to see if we could get in further there. And we didn't make it much further on the other side either, and we were stopped by the trees that had fallen over the trail. But we were really worried because we had a 250-year-old or 300-year-old hemlock up in our woodlot that was kind of like I don't know, it was like the gentle giant in our woodlot. And we also had a pine tree that's probably about the same age or if not older. And when we were restoring the woodlot, we made sure that those trees were protected, and we had to do some cutting around them, but we made sure that those trees were not harmed in any way when we were renovating the woodlot. So we couldn't see those trees from where we were able to stand. So we got off the ATV, and Ken didn't want to go see because he feared the worst. But I hiked in. It probably took me 45 minutes actually to get to where the hemlock stood. And unfortunately, it was flattened on the ground. The stump and the roots and the dirt that was uprooted for the size of that tree literally was the size of a room. So it's absolutely amazing, the amazing strength of that storm, not in a good way, that it was able to blow down that tree. It was really incredible. I then looked to see where the pine tree was, and the pine tree was fine. So I don't know, just the direction, the angles, whatever. The hemlock tree had a much fuller canopy, So I think that maybe was why it got pushed over, and the pine tree didn't. The pine tree is a little bit more open on the top, but it was really sad. And after all that, we were counting our blessings because we had friends that did not fare as well. Barns were destroyed. We had one neighbor that actually lost some livestock, and it was pretty bad. And as I'm sitting here today, I think it's been 18 days since the storm. And so I'm recording this on the Tuesday before the Friday that it's going to be published. People still don't have power on the island. So literally every single household on the island serviced by Maritime Electric, which is our electricity company, did not have power. So it was unbelievable. Lots of people here have generators, so lots of people were lucky, but there's many that don't. And certainly in the country, a lot of people have them, but there's surrounding areas to the bigger cities like Summerside and Charlottetown where they're not rural, but they're not on city water. A lot of those people don't have generators. So there was literally 86,000 people that are Maritime Electric households that did not, there was no power. And crews are still working to try to restore power. I think as of this morning, there is still 3,500 people that don't have, or households that don't have power. And what happened was so many trees were lost that if they fell on the power lines, they either took down the whole run of power lines, and while they took down the power lines, they also pulled the power from the electrical mast that is attached to the house and pulled that down. So you needed to cut the trees to even access the lines. You had to have an electrician come and reinstall the electrical mast that's on the side of the house, and then Maritime Electric had to be able to restore the power on the line. So it's quite a process. And we do have crews here on Prince Edward Island that are from, we have crews from Newfoundland, Ontario, Maine, and I think even more arrived within the last day or two as well. So I think I don't know how many crews we usually have on PEI working that are deployed when there's a power outage of, a smaller scale. I have a funny feeling like it's somewhere around 80 crews that are available if in an emergency. I think this morning when I read the post, we actually have 240 crews working here now, and that extra crews are coming from all over the place to help us get everybody back on power. So all that to say is that it's been quite a time. So we were out of power for 7 days. Betsy, we're going to talk about Betsy's experience during Fiona, because there's nobody that you meet on PEI in the last 3 weeks that you don't say, how did you make out during Fiona? Because neighbors are asking everybody when they, is everybody okay? Do you need anything? Because there are still people that don't have power. So we'll hear a little bit more about that. In the end, when we surveyed everything around our house, we lost 3 or 4 old apple trees, a chestnut tree, a pine tree, a bunch of stuff that was all down on the ground. We still have those trees there. We haven't cut through all of them. And it was pretty daunting, but we're going to clean up one tree at a time. That's what we keep telling ourselves. And there's still lots of cleanup to be done, and some minor repairs, like I said, with the roof and everything. We haven't gotten anybody to come to look at that yet. But the good news is we're all safe, and the community has really come together like they always do, and people are helping each other. And it's been pretty heartwarming to see the community come together, but pretty devastating to see the kind of damage to the beaches, like on the north shore of Prince Edward Island. It's somebody described it as, and this is what it looks like, that a giant excavator just went along the beach and just cleaned off all of the sand and the sand dunes there. So the shoreline of Prince Edward Island has actually changed after this storm. So that's the story of that. Again, my heartfelt thanks to everybody that wrote. I didn't get time to actually answer all the comments, but I've read everything on the different social media channels and emails. And I just want to thank you all for being so concerned about us and keeping us in your thoughts. And I really, really appreciated it. So thank you very much. So now, the one thing that was a bit of a, something positive that came out of this is that there was lots of time to knit, because we had Betsy and I'll talk about it a little bit, because you learned how it must have been to be a pioneer back in the old days when they were doing work by lamplight and candlelight. So we got the taste of that, but during the day you actually couldn't do anything, because it was not only we cleaned trees up and stuff, but there was no power and nobody had power. So it's not like you could go somewhere and have nothing was open, obviously. So during the day you actually were able to get when you're not cutting trees, you were able to get quite a bit of knitting done. So I was able to finish my tungsten sweater. So now we're going to talk about finished objects, which is tungsten. So finally done. It turned out pretty good, except for one thing. It's a little bit too big. So I in previous episodes, I think I told you that I have put my paisley to the side because I was a little bit losing my motivation a little bit to finish it. I have hardly anything left to do on it. Literally put 2 buttons on and finish the embellishments. And I really just couldn't bring myself to do it because I thought it was going to be too small. And I actually knew it was going to be too small. So I decided about 6 weeks ago that I was going to just get back down to the size that I was when I started paisley, which was a year ago or more. Anyway, back to that size. So I've been kind of not doing anything too crazy, just watching what I eat and get back on eating my regular eating plan that I usually would do, like with lots of vegetables and things like that. And I actually have lost a little bit of weight. And now paisley fits, because you saw maybe the picture on the thumbnail that it actually fits, so that's good news. The bad news is that now tungsten is too big. So tungsten was shaping up to fit me perfectly, but now it's actually pretty loose. So I'm really happy with the way that it turned out as far as the knitting goes. We talked about this in the last episode, that I'm really happy with the way the duplicate stitch solved my Intarsia problem with these little stripes that I had that was really kind of bogging me down. But it's definitely too big. The shoulders, I can't really do too much about it. It's like a real drop shoulder, so the seam for the shoulder is here, and there's not going to be much I can do about this. However, I can do something about the waist shaping here, because there is no waist shaping. It's just a boxy cut. I should have made it with some shaping, but I thought I would be able to, that the boxiness would have been okay, and it probably would have been okay, except that then I'm now not the same size as I was when I started knitting it. So I think what I'm going to do is I am just going to almost make like a steek on either side. I have lots of room, so I can probably take out 2 inches on either side and not affect the motif at all. So I think I'm going to do that. So if I do that and it's successful, then I will show that on the next podcast. But there's not a reason why it shouldn't be successful. So the next time that I'm here, I'll have this fixed, and hopefully I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it, like kind of baste it. I'm going to try it on just to make sure that it's okay, because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen under the arm, because I can't go too far up here without affecting the way it fits around the arm as well. I'm going to baste it up. I'm going to try it on to make sure that I have the right fit, and then I am going to work it like a steek and cut it. So we'll see. I think I'll ask Betsy for help, because she's fearless at that kind of thing. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned for that. But technically it's an FO and it's finished. So, and it's really lovely. It's very comfortable. This is actually my first sweater that I've ever knit with felted tweed. And I really like the weight of it. It's warm, but it's not too warm. Totally wearable inside. Like, it's not an outdoor sweater. Like most of the sweaters that I've made are pretty warm. And this one is like almost too warm, except for Madeline. That one's pretty easy to wear inside as well. But this is my first felted tweed sweater that I finished. So I really like the fabric, and I just wished it fit better, but I can fix it, I think. So that's that. Works in progress, because I had this one done. I'm still sticking to my knitting plan. So I am knitting usually about an hour in the morning, and then I'm knitting at night as well. And many of you know that Andrea and Madeline are here on Prince Edward Island from Fruity Knitting, and we've had the chance to be with them a little bit. And what I discovered is when Andrea's sitting, she's knitting. So I started doing that as well, because I thought, well, I always was kind of like, well, I'm not going to pull out my knitting if I'm only going to be sitting here for 15 minutes or so. Or if I'm driving in the car and I'm not going that far. I'm not driving, I'm as a passenger in the car, I'm not going that far. But what I discovered is that if you actually just pick up your knitting every time you sit, even if you get 5 or 6 rows done, you can make a lot of progress with all of those little bits of knitting. So I am now back on my cowl cardigan. So I have it out, and the last time I showed this, because I stopped showing it, I basically, so just to recap, I have the back of the sweater is done. So here's the back. I think I showed this not that long ago, actually. So there's the back. And here is the 2 front pieces. So I'm doing them 2 at a time. And I believe the last time I showed it, it was down about here. So I've only really been seriously working on it in the last week and a half, maybe. So I am making pretty good progress with this, and I've got 2 balls going, because it's 2 at a time. But it's coming along pretty quickly now, because I'm doing that kind of knitting. So every time I get a chance. So it was here. And I've been able to do this, and it seems to be going faster and faster, because now I'm getting back into the swing of this double moss stitch that the sweater's made out of. So that will continue to make progress on that. And then I showed a picture of Paisley, because I did try it on, and my plan for the size actually worked, because it does fit me. I just tried it on today earlier. So what I have left to do on Paisley is I literally have 2 buttons to put on, 3 buttons to put on the bottom, and I just have to finish the embellishments. So this is one side is almost done and the other side is not. So this side I have to do the crochet. So the kind of mauvey brown has to be crocheted around these motifs, just like this side, and I just have a couple little things to do. I've already done the brown all the way around this sleeve and started the sequins that go on there. So I just have to do the same thing on the other sleeve that I haven't started yet, and then block it. It hasn't been blocked yet. So I'm really excited again to get this done, and I think that I will finally be able to finish it. And I'm really happy. And like I said, I just tried it on just a little while ago, and it fits perfectly. So I'm really, really happy that that is an accomplishment to have it fit. So that's the works in progress, and that I'm doing. So we're gonna hop over to the segment with Betsy right now because she also has quite a few works in progress. So it makes sense at the beginning of the Wallflower segment, we'll catch up with Betsy's knitting. And she's got a finished object, and she's got actually 2 finished objects, and she's got a new project that she started for works in progress, which she's doing out of Alpaca Classic, and you'll see what she's working on, and of course our progress on our Wallflowers. So stay tuned for that. Hi Betsy.
Hi Kim.
I use my deep voice. I'm very like conscious now of that. The one before the last one, I almost blew my eardrums out when I was doing the editing. So I'm going to be okay. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yes.
It's been a month.
It's been a month.
It's been a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no conversation on PEI starts without talking about Fiona these days.
Yes.
So people are going to want to know, I've already talked about my Fiona experience, and people are going to want to know about your Fiona experience.
So on the whole, we're saying that we are quite fortunate.
We're counting our blessings,
we
for
are.
sure.
We fared fairly well. No lives lost, no one injured. Everything's still in relatively good working order. So on that account, we're very thankful.
Yes.
Just practically speaking, our contractor did show up to check out the front of our garage, and he said, this wall is being held up by a prayer and 2 nails. So
you forgot the bubble gum.
So we were really grateful that it didn't come down. Matthew had moved our vehicles mid-storm because he went out and saw
So this is a garage barn.
It's a 2-story garage.
Yes.
So that if had that front wall come down, it would have been quite a disaster. It's quite an old garage, but it's interesting because we keep being told it's old, but it's really good.
Yeah.
And so I get confused by that. I don't know what that means when you're talking.
That's what they say about our house too.
Yeah. So
I think it's because the building materials that were used to build those buildings are so much more robust than the building materials that you can even get now.
Right. So we are very grateful.
Yes.
It had that.
So what happened is the front wall of the
separated from the actual main support beam.
Right.
So there was literally 2 nails just holding it to that beam, and probably had we gotten an additional big gust, and it would have just taken the front wall right off because the wind was coming from the back right through. Right. And I'd asked if I'd opened the garage doors, would that have helped? And he said, maybe, but chances are it would have just given enough lift that the roof would have just disappeared.
Yes, yes.
So all in all, the garage is back together and hopefully going to stand and be good to go.
So he's already come and fixed it.
He has come and fixed that,
oh,
yes.
Okay, oops, sorry.
No worries. And then the other challenge is the roof, because like on our house, and a lot of people had shingles blow away or much more significant damage. So we're on a list. Potentially not till the spring that it'll actually be fixed with a roofer, and we're going to switch from shingles to steel at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, we had kind of thought we would, but we were hoping it would be a few years down the road. So for us, ultimately, I think it just sort of sped some plans up.
Right. Okay. So here, a lot of people have metal roofs on their houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty common thing. I don't know if that's common.
And we had put that on the barn, and it didn't it's perfectly fine. If anything, the roof on the barn looks great.
We're debating the same thing about our house renovation because the one thing is that if the steel roof goes, it all goes.
Yeah, but if they do it right,
it shouldn't go.
It shouldn't go. That's what I've been told.
And shingles will fall off a little bit at a time.
And even in the winter, we were losing shingles. In a big snowstorm.
Right.
So,
and we're still finding, we just noticed, because we didn't have really much roof damage except for a little bit of I think you call it the fascia on the top. Yeah. And we just noticed this morning that a piece was off the barn at the back that we didn't even see.
And I think that's going to keep happening for folks over the next while.
Is it 3 weeks now?
I have kind of lost track.
Yeah.
I was doing really well with it all. And then on the weekend, I had a little meltdown. And I went, you know what? Interestingly enough, it wasn't the stress of the storm itself. In the storm, we actually all felt fairly safe and secure, and it just sounded kind of loud and ominous in our house. But it's the stress of trying to put it all back together that's kind of got to me. So,
yes. And I had a friend that they actually lost more than one barn, I think. And they had lots of help. So and I think she expressed it very well. She said, right now, we were heartbroken and crying when we went outside and looked at what the state of our barns. Then a lot of friends came and helped, and even from Nova Scotia, they came and helped. She said, now the next stage will be when they all go back, and there's still tons of stuff to clean up. Which is actually,
and I've got to say, in terms of like watching this island rally together and help each other out and try to put things back to right. I will fully acknowledge there are folks out there who are still being extremely patient and to this day do not have power yet.
Yes, and I forget what day we're on. I really forget.
I think day 18, I think.
Yeah, so we're recording this on the 11th. Right. Day 18?
I think so.
Yeah, so there's 3,000,
more than 3,000 people. We came back on
people.
Day 12.
Yeah, so we were for, I've already talked about this, but we've been out for 7 days. Yeah. We have a generator, two generators actually. Yes. So we weren't really, it wasn't really that big of an inconvenience for us.
Well, the key things still had water and could keep the fridge running. That's what I said. Without our generator, it would be, that would be the biggest challenge, because I had some neighbors who went through the whole 12 days with no running water and no electricity, and they have young children.
Oh no. The big thing is that there was no hot water.
Yes.
So I know that you came to my place to do laundry one day at some point, and you were bird bathing in cold water. Yes.
Well, no, I was actually taking the time to heat up like 6 or 7 pots on the stove, because I could still run my propane stove and get just enough water in the tub to clean up. But the rest of the family chose cold showers. I just can't do it.
No,
I can't do it. I mean, I could, if it all came down. These are very
first world problems.
Yes, exactly. So all in all, we consider ourselves fortunate. Oddly enough, we had some really great, I think, bonding friendship times, cleaning up property. You came to help us clean up our trees.
You didn't have trees fall down.
We don't have trees, so we didn't lose any.
You have a panoramic view of the whole valleys around you.
So my house probably shook a little harder than some when the wind was blowing, but we at no point were afraid that anything was going to land on it.
Yes. Yeah. So that wasn't the case. I've already talked about this, but luckily you and Matt came and helped, and we chopped trees, and this was happening all over the island. Yes. People were rallying around. Once they got themselves sorted out, they were helping neighbors.
So that was really just neat to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course, my neighbor, because we're relatively new to the island, we're just a little over a year. The first thing when I saw him, he came to me and said, "So, are you packing up and leaving?" And I said, "No way." I said, "I love this island. She's got a temper, but I love her." So I was like, no, not chasing me away.
And have you ever been in a hurricane before? Because Ontario doesn't have hurricanes.
No, we get tornado scares, which I'm not going to say one or the other is scarier. It's just very different.
Right.
So I've been at a gas station watching one kind of develop and questioning, do we run for cover? And thankfully it blew away.
Right.
But yeah, we have had tornadoes around us, but
so
not
it was your first hurricane.
Yes. What I like the difference being, hurricane, you do get some warning.
Yes.
You get some time to prepare for. But I don't think any of us were really prepared.
No, we were not prepared for what we actually got, because I think they're calling this a once in a lifetime event.
I'm going to count on that.
Well,
I'm going to hold them to that.
I don't think it's a once in a lifetime event. I don't want any comments about global warming or anything, but there was Dorian a few years ago. Yeah. Now there's this, and the Dorian was a once in a lifetime event. Exactly. Now we've had Fiona, and it was worse. Yeah. So I think I think
we have to admit, weather patterns are shifting all over the world.
That's right.
People are experiencing things they didn't in their childhood.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just prepare accordingly.
Right. So then there was a week basically where we couldn't work because everything was shut down. There was no power anywhere. So I did get some knitting done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can knit. Well, I could knit until it was candlelight time.
Right.
And then I had a real respect for all of those pioneer folks who were making their clothes by candlelight.
Yeah, and we had oil lamps going.
Oh, good for you. Too.
So, and I can tell you, knitting, you need something light.
It's, all of a sudden you suddenly feel very blind.
How, I don't know how they did it. I was thinking the same thing. Like, oh my God.
Because that's when they do Ingalls. It, right?
How did they
And that was the time of day that they would knit, because the rest of the time of the day they were hauling water because they didn't have running water. So
exactly.
A whole new respect for anyone who's pioneered, or even folks around the world who do not have hydro and water.
Yeah. So you got knitting done.
I did.
Yes.
Starting with what I'm wearing.
Yes.
So I'm so excited about this. It caused me some grief along the way, which I shared with you folks, but this is my fox
the real
sweater.
name, you're calling it the fox sweater.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's because I'm just a little bit shy that way.
Yeah. So
it's called For Fox's Sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just if you're looking it up, that's what the name.
For Fox's Sake by Max Sear.
Yeah, and for us, it's just the fox sweater. So, okay.
Yeah, so it gave me a little bit of grief along the way, just challenged some of my skills, working with multiple colors in the yoke at one time. And I chose to make that more attainable for myself and duplicate stitched the glasses on.
But I actually think that's the smart way to go. Having duplicate stitch, this happened here.
The texture it adds.
Yes, and I think it just makes your life so much easier. Especially when you've just got a thin line, it just, don't bother. I don't know why pattern designers don't just put it in actually now, having had the experience with this.
I wonder if they worry that they'll scare sort of non-sewers off. But even if you're not a sewer, I promise you, make a squash. Make a squash.
We just had Thanksgiving.
Make a swatch and just try some duplicate stitch. It is not difficult, because you are literally following your already made line.
Yes, trying to do color work with 3 or 4 colors is actually way more difficult, or Intarsia on a little bit thing like what I was dealing with here on Tungsten, is way more difficult than just learning duplicate stitch and getting it right. And even if you don't know how to do duplicate stitch, I do have a tutorial on it. It's pretty clear, but it does take a little bit of practice. But your practice learning the duplicate stitch and getting it perfect on top of the stitches that are under it is the learning curve is way more fast than trying to manage 3 or 4 colors in color work and trying to get it right. So anyway.
So I was glad I had done that. Some of the glasses are a little different than others, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I started on the back.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to look at it.
Yeah.
So not that I'm walking around looking down like
looks
this.
Good. It looks really good.
And then I did go down into the body and tried it on and wasn't happy with it. So I ripped it back to the yoke. I decreased my needle size.
Right.
And I decreased the number of stitches that you cast on right below the sleeves.
Right.
And that just brought this in. So I'm very, very pleased with the waist shaping I did. And I think what I discovered about it is, when I think of waist shaping, I was thinking of it too low. Okay. So I was wanting to put it down kind of where your jeans waist sits.
Right.
Which is not your waist, ladies.
Yeah, that's
right. I shouldn't say that. Sky high rise pants right now might actually be at your waist. The jeans from my era were not sitting anywhere near our waist.
It's right higher than you think.
Much higher. Yeah. So when I got that somewhat by accident, it was like a super happy discovery when I put it on.
Right.
And and then I even have this. So I was nervous at first because my yoke isn't sitting tight down on my shoulders.
Right.
But I actually kind of like it. It's a little bit of a feminine puffed sleeve thing going on.
Okay.
So
great.
all around, it's come out really well.
For those that haven't seen this journey with this sweater, is that Betsy wanted to make all those sweaters that you made before were a little bit more positive ease.
Much positive ease.
And you were trying to get down closer to something with a small amount of positive ease.
Yes.
And you achieved the perfect fit with this, I think.
So when they talk about like measure off a sweater you like,
right.
I'm thinking this might be my measure sweater. Sweater measure?
Yeah. Your template.
Yeah, my template. There we go.
That's good.
And I put some extra length in the sleeve, for which I'm very glad. I took into account, I did use, I should say, this is our Selkirk worsted that I used. And Kim did let me know that things tend to relax width-wise.
Yeah.
So when I first put it on, it was even tighter, but I thought I'm going to take Andrea Mowry's advice and break the sweater in before I try and show it. So 'cause she always says if you wear it a few times, it kind of shapes to you.
Right.
Like a damp pair of moccasins sort of
Right.
idea.
Okay. Okay.
And I definitely found it has, because your body starts to make an impression on the yarn.
Yes, exactly. So the other part of that it goes wider is that it comes up a bit. So you added extra length for the bottom.
So mostly
and
in the sleeves that I've noticed it. So they're still good, even though when I first started, well, I don't know exactly what it was, but they felt long. But now they feel perfect.
And the same on the bottom.
On the bottom, yeah. I actually turn it up. On the bottom. That's just how I do sweaters. I don't know. It's just what I'm used to.
Good. Yeah. Anyway, it looks great.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you've chatted about yours already?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
The tungsten that I'm wearing. Yes. So, and then more detail on the duplicate stitch now. So
right. Perfect.
Big fan of duplicate stitch.
Yay.
I have to
Me
say.
too. I think I'm going to use it more.
Yes, and thank you. I mean, it happened after I actually did the tutorial, and that viewer said, just do duplicate stitch.
Why are you not?
Yeah. So I'm a total convert now.
Perfect.
I will do duplicate stitch whenever I can.
Yes, me too. Especially for small details.
Yes.
So that's not the only thing.
No.
So I was working on the mineral as well.
Yeah.
Which is made out of the Rowan cotton glacé in the color mineral. It looks really big to me whenever I hold it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's because cotton doesn't have, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it doesn't have shaping. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a bit of a flowy summer shirt.
Right.
So when I have it on, again, it is a little wide. I probably could have gone
down a
more.
size.
Yep, I probably could have.
Yeah.
I did change the neckline a little bit because they wanted me to put a garter stitch neckline on there. I'm just not a fan of a garter stitch neckline. So I switched it to, what do you call that? I-cord bind off or I-cord edging? Either one.
And was that the first time that you did that?
First time I did that.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Like, I really liked it.
Okay.
So I went a little wild and I put it on the sleeves too.
Yeah.
I think that was more because I was enjoying doing it. Unfortunately, I am going to pull that back out because it's actually made. These are supposed to kind of just hang off the shoulder. It messed with the drape.
Right.
So I need to put less
in
on there.
the neck, because I've seen this on you.
Yep.
And it worked perfectly there.
It did.
It just makes the neck sit really beautifully on you. And then you're right, these are a little bit puffier. So you're going to take this off and then you're going to do what, a crochet?
I'm going to try just a crochet stitch on there.
Yeah,
I need something to finish it. The raw edge is just not my...
It's kind of bubbly. Like they tend to be bumpy.
Yeah. So we'll give it a try. The pattern may have called for, I think you were just supposed to pick up and knit and then cast off.
Oh, which actually gives you the same kind of look as a crochet edge.
And to me, for me, a crocheting edge will be way easier.
Yes, okay,
yeah,
perfect. So that's exactly how it's supposed to look.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
Because they look exactly the same.
Well, you learn as you go.
Yeah.
I should just...
well, I think they look the same. Somebody may say they're not the same, but
similar enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, great.
So that'll be a summer shirt. I may try layering it up with a nice white collared shirt. I was inspired by a guest the other day who suggested I do that. And I don't know. I've never done the collared white shirt thing.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it a try.
And it does, I don't know if we can get a picture of you wearing it because it does look really good on.
Okay.
But it's still a little bit loose.
Yeah.
But
and maybe once I get the sleeves fixed.
Yes,
so it may not be this week, it may be another week.
Your collar shirt and see how it looks.
See how it all goes.
Yeah. The layering thing is so big right now.
I know, and it has been for years. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I don't really do it either.
Yeah. I do, but with different things.
And what we're talking about
is t-shirt hoodie wearer.
Oh, right.
I'll fully admit it.
And it's more the shirt and it hangs out at the bottom as well.
That's supposed to be, and that actually I have a challenge with because my back is so long that I have to find a shirt that will be almost a tunic length.
Oh, okay.
For that to, because otherwise I'll constantly feel like I have to pull that undershirt down.
Okay.
Now that should, with the cotton, it should be okay because there shouldn't be stick going on there.
That's right.
So hopefully that'll be.
So we'll stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how that goes.
And then you started a new project.
And then I started a new project because actually finishing these. This was my motivation to get these finished because I make little rules with myself. No buying yarn till you've finished some previous projects. So this is the Patty wrap out of the Alpaca collection from Rowan. And it is made out of the Alpaca Classic, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
In these here, different colors. So
Yeah.
you can, I don't know, you can hold that up if you want.
Yeah.
So I saw the colors and I loved it. Just that combination together. I did change it a little bit. In the original pattern, this color is like a really dark, kind of smoky gray.
Yes.
Gray melange? No, maybe that's what this is.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure.
coastal melange.
Coastal
It's a
melange,
blue and gray mixed tweedy kind of thing.
It just wasn't quite my thing. So I switched it out just for some nice.
And the color that you switched it out for is actually a darker navy, which is called Eclipse.
Nice.
So if people want to know.
Yeah. So what I'm loving about it is each section that you do is, well, not every section, slightly different. So this is a slip stitch pattern, which I'm finding super fun.
Yeah.
This one I think plays with moss stitch. There's some check patterns in it. So it's just fun to have those little sections to do, and then I get to switch.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about fit at all.
No. And it's super satisfying doing stripes.
I think
because
so.
it's like you get to the next one
Just
and you're like ticking off the
measurable progress.
Yes,
yeah, very
exactly.
visual.
Great.
So loving it.
Yeah.
So I do this like, I don't know, 7 or 8 more times.
Yeah,
So,
and then it's done. Good.
And it's like.
And is it TV knitting?
So some of the patterns are because they're just like a 4-row pattern.
Right.
Some of them are more like a 14-row. So I think once I've done them once or twice, I'll get there.
How many repeats did you say?
I think there's 8.
Oh yeah, by the time you get...
It's like an 87-inch.
Yes.
It's like going to go round and round.
Yeah, good.
And I may even extend it. If there's any yarn left, I will just keep going until I have no yarn.
And how are you finding the Alpaca Classic to knit with?
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's very soft and
Yes.
squishy.
Yes.
I'm so glad I sort of, because I didn't swatch.
Well, it's a scarf.
I know, that's what I figured. But I told myself right off, because I have a tendency to go too small.
Right.
So I just went up to a 4.5 needle. I'm not sure which it even called for, but I said I need to give myself some drape.
Okay, so I found when I was doing the rain sweater by Arne Carlos, that's the one with the reindeer on it, that I found that I balled this yarn up because I found it so light that when I was pulling on it, but you're using a yarn bowl.
Well, you saw my trick the other day.
She's using a yarn bowl. That's
Kim was
actually a
up to
teapot.
visit, and I drop it in a teapot.
Yeah.
And just pull it out of the hole is small enough that the whole thing doesn't come flying out. It's smooth. It's
Yeah.
So basically it is a yarn bowl without actually having purchased a yarn bowl.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely china teapot.
I need to get a different one. It has quite a precious story to it. And if I break it, I will be in trouble. But we won't get into that story. So I need to get a different one. Yeah, so I'm liking it. I get winter hands, I call them, and we're headed into that season already where my hands get dry. I have to keep them moisturized to use this because I catch. The fuzz catch on my fingers. So that's the only thing. But it's light. It's shockingly warm.
Yes.
When it's sitting on my lap, I'm surprised.
Yes.
Because you don't think it feels pretty light and thin, but don't be deceived. It's warm.
Yeah, it's light as a feather.
Yeah.
And toasty.
And that's what I'm looking forward to as it being a wrap. I have a shawl that I love the look of it, but the yarn is weightier, and I can't take, sorry, I touched my mic. I can't take weight almost of any kind on my shoulders for too long. So I'm hoping this will be just light and airy and fluffy.
Great.
And that's what I'm knitting.
And now we're going to talk about Wallflowers.
All right.
Yeah. So this is
itself.
what happens when there's no power, is that you get a lot of projects done.
Yes,
so that's great. And we were talking earlier today because we also discovered, I discovered something, and you said that that's what you do anyway, is that Andrea and Madeline have been here.
Yes,
from
on the
Fruity
island.
Knitting.
Yeah.
And what we learned from them is that they don't go anywhere without their knitting, because they're knitting, like I said to you, if they're sitting, they're knitting.
Yeah, I like that phrase. If they're
sitting, they're knitting. Yeah. And I was never doing that, because I would think, I'm going to be in the car going to Charlottetown. It's only a half an hour. I'm not going to bring my knitting. You
can get a lot done in half an hour.
I know. I started doing it because I was like, well, they're knitting, so I'll knit.
Inspired.
And it's amazing.
It really is.
Every little bit.
Have definitely been that way all along, because you used to say to me, Betsy's a fast knitter, you're a fast knitter. I'd say, I'm not a fast knitter, I just knit a lot.
Yeah.
And by a lot, I mean if I'm sitting down, I knit. So I always have my knitting out.
Yes.
I don't pack it away or put it away.
Right.
It's always by my chair. Yes, I have a my chair at my house.
Yes.
By my chair, and then as soon as I sit down I can pick it up. And I actually, the only thing that catches me sometimes is that nasty scrolling. So sometimes I have to say, put the phone down.
Yes.
Just put it down
Yes.
and do knitting. Pick up the knitting.
Right. So that's my new thing. I'm gonna just say, and even if you get like, so what? It's we went to Charlottetown on Sunday, Ken and I, and it's 35 minutes to Charlottetown from my place. And I'm working on my cowl cardigan, and I got like 4 or 5 rows in each direction. So that's like 10 rows, which is 5 centimeters. In this.
Exactly.
So 5 centimeters done.
5 centimeter of knitting time you hadn't planned on.
That's right.
So it's almost like magic.
Yes.
It just happened.
Kind of like saving in compound interest. Yeah. A little bit every day.
Yeah, but it works.
Yes.
It definitely works. Okay.
All right.
Truly.
So wallflower.
Wallflower.
So I'll go first.
Sure.
Before the wow factor.
Oh, the wow factor.
Of yours. So this is not an excuse, but I was bragging the last time about how I have it out on a table, and I just find it so great. Like, you just pick up and do a little bit, back to do a little bit every day. So after the power went out, and then we were had guests over almost every night, I had to put it away because we were using my dining room table.
Right, and it's not a group setting project.
No, not at all. So so I slowed my progress a little bit, but I did, before all that happened, before the hurricane hit, I did get the big flowers done.
There we go.
So they're done.
Oh, like what's going on here?
This I have one.
Oh, I see.
They're all made, but I just have to join the
last attached one.
The last attached one. Because we have 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so you've connected here, so right directly above.
So I'm going to connect there. So I don't know if you can really see this.
It gets a bit hard to hold.
It's going to be like this.
That, yeah.
Actually, I should just go like this because it would be
smart.
Yes, it will be.
Oh gosh.
Well, it's still floppy, so it doesn't matter. So that's it.
There we go.
All right. So, and then I actually, nobody will be able to tell is that I had all kinds of other little things here that I just plugged in. So all these small 3D flowers are in now, and all of these pebbly ones are in. Yeah. So I don't have any production left.
Oh my goodness.
So now I'm going to be back into production mode.
And I didn't show Kim this ahead of time.
Oh boy.
We're going to show her what kind of production she has ahead of her.
Yeah, okay. So that's mine.
Which is still looking gorgeous, loving the colors, coming along beautifully.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating me is you're still in what's considered the more muted light colors.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see
the bright
where that goes.
The bright stuff hasn't really happened yet.
Hasn't happened. Which mine is the complete opposite.
Yeah. So let's take a look at yours because I haven't seen it in a little while.
Awkward to hold.
Yeah.
So it's filled.
Betsy, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what they call the void, right?
Yeah. That's the void. So that's what you'll be doing next.
Yes. And this is this is those flowers that I'm joining.
Yeah.
So we're how would it go?
Yeah,
let's orient it yours.
Yeah, this way.
It's
just like
this?
that.
Okay.
So she was missing the top one there.
Yes.
Okay. To put that together.
This. Okay.
Yeah. And then you start moving outwards and just adding. No, this is garland. See, I start to lose the shapes as you go because now we just
So this is the garland.
Yes, that's right.
And I lied. I have 2 or 3 of these done.
Pieces of the void.
This one, I think. I've got 2 or 3 of them. No, this one. This is like I forget what it's called.
There's puffs, popcorns.
Whatever.
Yeah, lots of different names for them.
So, no, it's this.
That one you have. Okay.
Yeah, so I have to do these ones.
Those in.
Yeah.
Added. Yeah.
Yes. So this is because these are the pebbles and the popcorns, and then there was these. This is a different color pebbles.
Yep, different color.
So this is what I have to do.
Okay.
And then this. So right now this doesn't actually look too bad because it doesn't look like there's too many.
No, this part there's not.
Yes, but
then it goes. Then you start working around the outside,
Right.
which is significantly larger. So I've been doing quite a bit of production. I did manage to get these little sections here on, and they are setting up to insert another large one, which I'll show you kind of what comes next after that.
It's really beautiful.
We'll lay it here. So I actually have it stored in a shoebox because that just seems to be the simplest.
Okay. Do you want me to?
Yeah, maybe just, or set it there. We'll get too hot holding it. So filling those comes a whole stack of these.
Okay.
So they go into all of those sections. I don't know, 12, 14 of those is that.
Okay.
Then you move to another stack.
Oh my goodness.
Those
are two different colors.
These are two different colors, but you make them, they'll go in the same sort of round, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of same stage.
So the next one for you is these bright ones.
Purples. Then I move away from what we're going to call the colored part of mine.
Right.
I move into grays and blues. So the background is what it's called.
Okay.
So this is the beginning of the background. So there's a whole stack of those. And I find these big flowers take time to make.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not a quick thing.
Because you're at 96 stitches when you're going around there.
And it's 96 like triple, we won't get into any UK, US, triple stitches. So it's not just a pull through, it's a wrap, pull, kind of, So those take time. And then you get to move.
Her box is full.
Into, I tried to put them on a stick here and they're falling off because there's just so many.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how many are on there. 45.
So these are popcorns, right?
These are popcorns. Now, these get created. I don't want to let go or I'm going to lose the. Yeah.
Okay.
They happen fairly quickly. They're not near as long as the ones. And then you move into, I only have half of these done.
Oh, okay.
Into this other like.
Little tiny disc.
Just almost like just a little circle.
Right. Okay.
But where I'm at now is all of these have to be attached.
Oh, okay.
So they all have a background that goes in one at a time. It's not like they attach to each other and go in and like one at a time. These all get inserted.
Okay.
So, but again, once you get going and you're sitting down and you're into it,
they go pretty fast.
Because you memorize what needs to be done.
You were here and you were doing some the other day and you were whipping them off. It's like 2 rounds, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
2 rounds. 2 rounds for these and 2 rounds for the green. These take a little longer because
they're cluster stitches.
The cluster stitches, where these are
just flat. Yeah. And you have different colors there?
There is a few. Oh wait, maybe that's because I made these extra. But then I looked ahead and realized I'm going to need them. So it worked out perfect. They were a mistake until they weren't.
Perfect. That's what I want. So do you have them counting so you know how many you have there?
No, I just stuck them on these sticks to frighten you.
Yeah, okay. I'm shaking in my boots. Okay.
All right. I think I have one, so she breaks it into chapters, and I think there's like, is it 7 or 8 chapters? Regardless, I believe I have one more chapter of production.
And then you're done.
Before I think I have all the pieces made.
Okay.
And then there's some actual like edging that we do.
On the whole blanket.
On the whole blanket. Okay. Yeah.
And by the way, if you think you're missing out, I think she's accepting registration for the next class now.
Which is November?
I think it's in October that the registration.
This one officially ends, I think, as of like this past weekend.
Oh, it ended.
I think so.
Okay. So registration, I'll actually put the dates here.
Yes, sounds
great. Then you can join in if you and I'll be still doing it. So it'll be a crochet along.
Yes, we say it ended, but she says over and over, this is not. There's no time limit. You can just keep working on it.
I think she said. I don't know if it was when her and I were corresponding, or if she says it said it somewhere in the comments or whatever, that it often takes 2 years for people.
We've said that a few times.
Yeah,
so that's okay.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
But you're pretty close to the time. Although
I don't know.
The joining of all those things is going to take
a while. Yeah, especially the larger ones. Those ones I found to be my most challenging element to this is joining in those larger pieces.
Yes.
So because you do need to be careful that you attach them in the right spot, and there's just so many opportunities to do it wrong.
Yes. I actually, I shouldn't say it because I still have one to do.
Okay.
But I actually got them right the first time.
Yeah.
But,
that's Yeah.
But I thought I had it wrong.
Well, and she talks too about like, so especially putting these ones on here, about being really careful to do that correctly to set you up for success with the next ones. Because if that is just off by one, you'll try to join the big ones and it just won't work.
And the way she works is when you have two, I don't know if it's in the same in these later parts, but the way she works is that if you've got two things that are symmetrical, oh, this is not symmetrical though.
The whole thing is symmetrical. That's not, but when you hold it up this way, so this side here is exactly the same as this. Right. So that also makes it placement a lot easier when you're figuring out placement.
She recommends that you go from one side to the other to keep it.
Rather than trying to do one whole side and then flip and do the other whole side.
Yeah. So I think that's good advice.
So she gives all kinds of great hints and sort of ideas for the method of how to do it most likely successful.
Yes.
I mean, we all still make mistakes. But
and it's easy to rip it out and
do it
again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I don't think so. I have
some busy little beavers.
Dream knits, but who knows when I'll get to them. So.
So do you have a knitting project other than the patty wrap
just
now?
dream knits.
Dream knits. Okay.
Is that what we call them? When they're ideas.
What do you think you want to knit next?
A cardigan. I really want to do a cardigan because I know in my wardrobe that is what I wear. I have like 3 store-bought ones and I wear them over dresses, I wear them over tank tops, I wear them just when I get cool, I put them on. So I'd really like to have some that are my own.
Okay. Yeah, good. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Sounds good.
Whenever it happens. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Betsy.
Take care.
Bye. And we're back. So thank you, Betsy. So that's a lot of progress and a lot of knitting, and I really like that Alpaca Classic, the patty wrap that she's doing. It's really fun, and it is true what we said. Doing those little sections and the stripes and everything is really fun and keeps you interested in the project, even if there's not a lot of intricate shaping and everything that has to be done. So we will go to the shop update now. There's some catch up to do on things that were restocked and some things that we had before that I haven't shown yet. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Rowan sock yarn. So we have a sample of the sock, which I honestly can't remember if I showed you this the last time we were here or not. But we have a sock as an example. And this is how it knits up. So on the online shop, I have shown swatches of all the sock yarn colors so that you can see how they look when they're knitted. And you see it has this kind of subtle striping effect. And all the colors have that. And if you want to see how the colors play out, you can just go to the second picture when you go on the website and you'll be able to see that because I put swatches. We were running out of the yarn really quickly, so I restocked the yarn. So we have yarn in stock. And we also had run out of the Rowan sock collection, which is the book with the little patterns in it for this, the first patterns for this sock. And we have restocked that. So if you've been waiting for this to come back in stock, it's back in stock now. Another Rowan book that we had as part of the fall collection was the Alpaca collection. And this book is by Lisa Richardson. All the designs are by Lisa Richardson. I'm going to do a slideshow for this because the patterns are really nice. And this is the book that has the patty wrap that Betsy is doing. So that's in this book and some other great patterns. So we'll go take a look at the slideshow and be back here in a few minutes. So that's fun. It's good to have patterns in the alpaca. I like it when Rowan does that, like kind of a collection where they've grouped the yarns together and the patterns. So if you like alpaca, and those yarns are really, really soft. The Alpaca Classic has that fuzz to it. You saw it in Betsy's project, and it's also the same yarn that I did my rain sweater in. And the Alpaca Soft DK is just so squishy and lovely and comforting. It's got a lot of loft to it, and the projects with that feel like really soft and lovely as well. So you can check those patterns out. The next thing that I wanted to show is something new that we were going to bring to the Fibre Festival. That didn't happen. I'll talk more about the Fibre Festival too after. But Rowan has come out with this new project bag, and it's felted, so it's a felted project bag, and the Rowan logo is actually embroidered on it, and it has nice handles. It's just an open bag, so just to carry a larger project. So obviously will fit a sweater, I'm sure. And it's just classy and lovely, and we have those in the shop right now for sale if you want to if you want to purchase that. They're just really, really nice, and it stands up on its own, so I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I'll try to do it on my knee. So it has a square bottom, so it stands up. It's actually a sewn in square bottom, so nice and sturdy and lovely. So that's brand new to the shop. And still on Rowan, I just want to remind everybody, I talked about it in a newsletter, and I don't think I talked about it here. So Island Blend Fine is a yarn by Rowan, which is really soft. It has a little bit of silk and a little bit of camel in it, and it is being discontinued, and I have a full stock of all the colors, and we've been selling it for 25% off. So if you ever wanted to use Island Blend Fine in a project, and you it's a little bit pricier, so if you were prohibited by the price of it, you might want to check it out, because I'm offering 25% off of this yarn, and it's a very luxurious and lovely yarn. I have all the colors still in stock, so you can check that out, and the discount will be given automatically. So if you put Island Blend Fine in your checkout, it will, or in your cart, it'll automatically have the 25% off. So there's no code or anything there. So you can check that out. And you can also check on Ravelry. And if you put in Rowan Island Blend Fine, you'll be able to see all the patterns in the pattern search. You'll be able to see the patterns that you might want to make with Island Blend Fine. So that's also in the shop. I'm going to just go over, we talked about the books, but now there were a number of books that were going to be featured at the Fibre Festival, because we had the authors there to sign them. So I'm going to talk about it again, because obviously that didn't happen, but we did get the copies of the Knitting Bag of Tricks by Patty Lyons. So I've heard that some are available, but we had our copies sent directly from the publisher to us, because Patty was supposed to launch her book at the Fibre Festival, and so I think we got them a little bit early because of that. So I'm not sure if your local yarn store would have it or not, but we definitely have it. So you can check that out. And I read from it in the last podcast, because it's just really beautiful. The book is just great. And I think it's something that every knitter, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, you're going to learn something from this book. So you can check that out. I talked about it in the last newsletter as well, but just to remind viewers that we have it. The other book that we have that's in stock is actually the Saltwater Socks, and this is the fourth and last book in the Saltwater series. So apparently Christine and Shirley are not doing any more books. This is it. So I guess, I don't know, we'll see about that. But I'm just gonna stop here for a second to say what happened right before the Fibre Festival was supposed to happen. So once we canceled the Fibre Festival, there were people here on PEI that were supposed to attend the Fibre Festival that were already here. So Cabin Boy Knits were here, and Shirley and Christine were already here on Prince Edward Island. They actually had an interview with Fruity Knitting, so I think they're featuring that Fruity Knitting is featuring that interview in their next podcast, which is supposed to be released at the end of October. And so they were here, and on Friday during the day there was actually no weather here. It was a beautiful day, so I offered my shop to Cabin Boy Knits to come and set up we created a little space for them in the shop, and they were able to kind of do a downsized display of what they would have had at the Fibre Festival, and we put it on Instagram. So people that were here, there were lots of people here that were going here to go to the Fibre Festival that were already here as well. So we had quite a day on Friday in the shop. We had a little pop-up shop for Cabin Boy. They were also being interviewed by Fruity Knitting. So Fruity Knitting, Madeline and Andrea were here, and they did their interview here for Cabin Boy. So at some point you'll see an episode of a little interview with Cabin Boys on Fruity Knitting if you watch Fruity Knitting. And the books were supposed to arrive, the saltwater sock books. So the publisher of the saltwater sock books was here with Christine and Shirley, and she got notification from the printer that the delivery was in progress for the saltwater sock books here to Fleece and Harmony. So literally, the truck that was delivering the books that were supposed to be going to the Fibre Festival pulled up to our garage in the shop, and the girls pulled up and came in the front door, and the books were coming in the back door, and the saltwater girls were coming in the front door. And they hadn't seen the book yet because it came directly from the printers. So there was a lot of excitement because they hadn't seen the finished book, so they got to see it here. And I mean, there were so many people in the shop. It was mayhem and crazy, and it was actually a lot of fun. Like it was really exciting. So since Christine and Shirley were here, they signed every single book that I have. So I have the books for the Fibre Festival. If we haven't reached out to you, some people were supposed to pick up the book at the Fibre Festival. I've sent everybody that was supposed to pick up a book at the Fibre Festival a note about shipping the books to them. So I don't think I missed anybody, but there's a few people we haven't heard back from. So if you're watching this and you haven't heard from me, then check your email or your spam and make sure that you just didn't miss the email about how we're going to ship these books to you. Most of them have gone out already, but we're just waiting for a few more people to respond that haven't responded. Anyway, where was I? So the books were here, the saltwater girls were here, so they signed every book of the saltwater socks. So if we ship out a book to you, you're going to get a signed copy until these quantities last. In the past, when we had each of the saltwater books was launched, we created a collection as well. So if you wanted the full series, we would ship you out the full series. So now I have, and the series that was last in our shop included the Saltwater Mittens, which was the first book that they wrote. Then there was the Saltwater Classics, which was the second book, and the Saltwater Gifts, which was the third book. So now I've created a collection with all 4 books, and so you can get all 4 books in a package. So if you haven't experienced the saltwater books at all, they're just lovely and charming and full of fantastic patterns. But if you want to get all 4, there is the saltwater series collection in the shop, so you'll be able to see that. If you just do the search for saltwater, you'll be able to find the listing for that, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. And you can buy all 4 books if you don't already have the first 3. And you will also get assigned saltwater socks books, because all the books that I have are signed. So that's great. So there's that. And I have one more thing that I want to talk about in the shop, and that is this cute little book. And I've got a few copies of this. And it's Edward's Menagerie Dogs, and by Carrie Lord. And many people have heard of Carrie Lord's books. So the Edward's Menagerie was the first book, and it had dolls in it. And there's been a couple different books from this. There is a doll book as well, which is sold out, and I can't seem to get it. But then there's this book, which is the Saltwater Dogs. They're so cute that there's 30 patterns, and almost any dog that you can think of, there is a pattern in here how to make it. So I just wanted to feature that because it's super sweet. And you can buy that in the shop right now as well. Probably would make, if you're starting to think about presents for the holidays, that could make a good one. And one final thing that I want to add at the end of this shop update is that unfortunately we can no longer offer free shipping or flat rate shipping to our clients overseas in Europe or wherever else you are outside of North America. The shipping costs have just skyrocketed in the last couple months, and we were hoping that we wouldn't have to make a decision like this. And we also were hoping that maybe we could just do another tier of flat rate shipping, but really it's become unmanageable. Literally, sometimes the shipping costs of what we're incurring to ship overseas are equal to the retail value of the products that we're shipping or more. And it's obviously not sustainable. We're happy to continue to ship overseas if people want our products, then we're happy to do it. But the shipping fees will be calculated at the checkout, so you'll be required to pay shipping fees if you at the rate that we get the fees. So you'll be able to have our discount. Because we have volume discounts with the shippers, you will get the volume discount, but we just can't offer flat rate or free shipping anymore. It has just become, it's really amazing how fast that has gone up and inflated the cost. So I'm really, really sorry about that. Doesn't affect North America. So our Canadian customers and our US customers will still be able to take advantage of flat rate shipping and free shipping at the tiers as we've had before. But like I said, overseas customers, and my apologies, but it just doesn't work for a small business anymore. So I'm really sorry about that, and I hope you continue to follow us. And if you do want something from us, then we're happy to ship it, but you'll incur a shipping fee. And I think that's it for the shop update. I'm just going to say just a little bit about Arne Carlos. So now my next thing is that Arne and Carlos are coming at the end of November. And honestly, most of the classes are sold out except for the crochet class. But if you the sit and knit a bit live, that's going to happen on the first night on November 29th. That is actually I still have tickets available because I was able to add more spaces. So they are going to do a sit and knit for a bit live. And that like I said, there's still tickets for that. And what's going to happen at that is they will do like a little presentation or a talk. And then after they finish that, there's going to be a time to chat with them. If you have Arne and Carlos books that you want to have signed, they'll be available to do that. They're going to take some questions. And if you don't have books of theirs and you want to buy books of theirs, we carry all of the books that are published and available in Canada. So we have them all. You can purchase them. And they'll do that the first evening. And then, like I said, the crochet class still has some spaces left in it. So you can buy tickets for that. And I am keeping a waiting list for the other classes that are sold out. I think there's 2 or 3 spaces left in the layered color work, which is the Christmas balls that they're going to do. Sorry, not the layered color work. It's the stranded knitting, which is the Christmas balls. The other class, the knit and purl, the Norwegian way, and the layered color work class is sold. They're both sold out, but I am keeping waiting lists. If you want your name on the waiting list, just let me know. I have actually gone through people on the waiting list. So some people that are on the waiting list have already been called to get tickets. So you can, things happen. So people some people have had to cancel, and I've been able to accommodate some people that were on the waiting list. So you can just send me an email if you want to be on the waiting list. I will say that I will send you out some more. I'm just getting organized now to send out some more information to the people that have already bought tickets. So for example, what needle sizes you need to have to bring your own needles to the event, and a little bit more details about what's going to happen in the classes and the actual times. So I just got a notification from Rowan actually of the times that the classes are going to be, but I'm going to send that all out. I think they start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I think it's 9 till 12, and then from 1 until 4, I think, are the 2 classes, but I will send it out officially. So you can take a look at that. And then I have, this is usually when I would do my Fibre Festival update. So I just want to say that for everybody that's purchased a ticket and had tickets for the Fibre Festival, for any of the events, or the marketplace tickets, the company that was handling the ticket sales has refunded everybody, including the fees, the administrative fees that you paid. So you should be checking your emails and everything, because I know that people have started to get the money back in their bank accounts or on their credit cards, however they paid. So those refunds have been all completed now. So if you did have tickets, then you've been fully refunded. And we're going to try again next year. So I don't know. It's like, it's pretty, I don't know. It was pretty heart-wrenching to see what was happening. But for sure, it was absolutely the right decision to cancel in light of what happened with the hurricane. And I didn't really think that I was going to have it in me to go through all of this again for next year. But within a week after everything calmed down, I felt like I was back in the saddle. So we will do it again, try again for next year. And we cannot keep the same date though, because it's impossible to get the space to have the Fibre Festival on that date. So we will actually be doing it from October 5th to the 8th, 2023. So that is the new date. So the first week of October, October 5th to the 8th. And there'll be more information coming out pretty soon for that, just so everybody knows when the date will be. But that we just confirmed that this morning, actually, with the hotel. It will be at the Delta by Marriott, again, the same place where it was supposed to take place this year. And so those are as of this morning, those are the official dates for next year. So I hope we'll get to see you. We got to meet quite a few of the people that were already here, which was really fantastic. And we're going to try again. We're going to see you in 2023, I hope. So now we're going to go to the harmony part. And the harmony part is a little bit different this time because I don't really have a video. My videographer was busy chopping down trees and cutting up trees and fixing fences and everything. So one morning, about a week ago, we went out to do the chores, and it was the most gorgeous morning. I'm not going to say that it's the most gorgeous morning that I've ever seen, because there's been lots of really great mornings here on the farm, but it was just perfect. The light was perfect. There was like this soft mist over everything, and I was able to take a few photographs. I took the time to walk around the farm and take some photographs that morning. And I'm going to just do a little montage of the photographs, and they'll just play in behind the music that I've chosen for the harmony part this week. So thank you for joining me, and I hope everybody stays safe and well in the next 2 weeks until we see each other again. And please enjoy this peaceful, beautiful morning that we had, and enjoy the music, and have fun with all your crafting in the next 2 weeks until we see each other again. Bye.